Hello, I'm Dan and this is Crafted Camper Co. I'm currently inside our latest project and we thought that we'd put a little bit of a combination video together of all of the last 10 videos of building this camper. I'm Dan, this is Crafted Camper Co. And here we build bespoke, high-level luxury camper vans. I like to video the whole process and put it on YouTube every week so you can see how the builds are progressing. I guarantee if you watch this video you're going to see something which you have never seen in a camper van before. And that leads me quite nicely onto the van that's behind the camera.
2024 medium wheelbase Mercedes-Benz Sprinter.
Proper planning prevents piss poor performance, and due to that the first thing to do is a design. Let me walk you through what I've done. This cluster in particular needs 4 seat belts in this van, so I'm going to leave the double bench seat in the front as well as the driver's seat just as it is, stick them on swivels and turn them around to create a living room area. I'm then going to have a 4th seat belted seat just behind the driver's seat, right by where the window is going to be. In front of me here we're going to have the kitchen worktop. That's going to have an induction hob on it. This van's going to be a gasless van, mainly due to longevity of the parts, for additional safety. And this customer prioritises staying at campsites plugged into 230 volt shore power, and so there's no real need for there to be a big hefty gas system for off-grid living. First thing though is I'm going to strip the van. Got a bit of a different week this week. I'm not in the unit for a lot of it. I'm up in the north of England, and that's because we're putting the pop top on the Sprinter. When putting together a camper van, after the design and everything is confirmed, one of the big things to do is to cut the holes in the van and stick in the big units which you won't otherwise be able to get to after you start and put the camper van items in. And then the occasion of this van, stick the pop top on the top. So quite simply what I'm going to do here is just imagine where everything's going to go, get a rough guide on what I'm going to need for each one of the components built with this extrusion, and then tot it all up. I'll probably add 15% onto it and get a quote. You've got a quick peek there of the new computer software that I'm using. So I'm going to more CAD manufacturing. Vanspace is great for showing the design and the layout just before the build, but I've got a one-to-one design of the actual customer's van here. And so that'll allow me to actually build the furniture, input it in millimetre perfect. It's a much better way of working. It just takes a little while longer. When it comes to certain things in the camper van, like putting the windows in the side and the side pods and putting a pop top on, I found one absolutely perfect way to get it right every single time. You get the professionals to do it. As well as being the sponsor for this week's video, Vantage were kind enough to let me get in there and film as they were installing the pop top on Project 2. I'm beginning to quite like this, pay someone else to do the work. I'm sat out here, laying about, and they're in there doing all the work. It's great. It was professionally installed by Vin and Chris, and the most friendliest guys. You can really tell that they've got a passion for what they do, from all of the materials used to the installation process. Everything is meticulous and planned out, so then you get a fantastic install with no problems.
One surefire way to increase the quality of your camper van is to add sound deadening. These are vibration mats which I put underneath the insulation to get rid of any unwanted noises.
And so a quick reminder on the state of affairs of Project 2. We've got the pop top installed, we've got the windows and side pods installed, and everything is stripped and ready and sound deadened. And so a big first thing to do before I start planning anything out is to create a plan, is to draw up, as I have done here on the board, and just wire where everything's going to go, so then that gives me a clear plan of where to make my holes, where to seal the edges of the windows off and the metalwork, and where I can expect and plan all of the termination points of the wiring to be. It's also very handy as well to make sure I don't forget anything, so I don't have to keep ripping the walls off to put more wires in. The chassis of the van, of course, is used just to keep everything nice and stable, so I don't want to be drilling holes through there, and inconveniently there are where you would expect there to be channels and lines. There's not. There is, however, one just at the back of here. There's a small little section there which has been cut out, which then I can channel wire fish through, down to the top of the wheel well, just here, and then run the cable in there through and down the bottom. One of the most important things when making a wiring harness is to label everything. Even if it's just wires 1 through to 8, get them all labelled. And also, just for whenever the wires come in contact with an edge, I've got some U-trim, just so then there's no rubbing on the wires. And I'm also going to wrap the wires in conduit, again just for additional protection. And then I'm going to wrap any of the contact points in electrical wiring harness tape, just to avoid any rattling or noises. The fuse box is going to be located right by the battery. Big part of the process when wrapping and getting a nice finish on the Sprinter is to wrap the metal at the back. In order to get a good finish, the factory wiring that supports the lights, the motion sensor, the camera and the rear lights runs right where I need to wrap. So my hope and plan with this is there's a small room there to be able to reroute a hole, and its side is smaller than the cross section of the hole I'm going to be doing. Hope to try to get it all through without needing to repin anything, that'd be nice. There we go. So now the hole's in the van, I'm going to start and reroute. We've got the existing wiring for all of the electrics and the switchboard coming up here. So the wire's going to run up and along the roof and then into and through these holes here. Copper cable has come for the DC to DC charger. So this pulls a draw from the battery when the voltage is higher than 12.8 volts, I believe. So when the van's on and the alternator's pumping out, the voltage will jump up. It'll jump up to 13.4 volts, providing everything's healthy, which it should be in a new van. This 60mm wire starts here. It's immediately fused, so I've still got another fuse to add in. And then I've just gone OEM plus, so I've followed the existing wiring, adding loom tape on, and then also when it comes to the cornering, I've zip tied it in exactly the same as the manufacturer, just to give a more consistent result. And then that goes up and over and above, tucking behind the new B-pillar trim. And then I've taken off and it runs down exactly the same as the wire from the front bonnet. That goes under the step, down and round, up behind the kitchen gallery, up through the cavities of the wall, and down and expiring where the battery's going to be. Water tanks. So this van, and any van, you need a fresh water tank and then somewhere to put the fresh water once you've used it. So that'll be a grey water tank. As I plan on putting the fifth wheel hung on the back, that then frees up the spare wheel carrier and the space under the van there. This grey water tank is 65 litres. This then is going to be mounted on behind the rear driver's seat underneath. So where the way that the chassis is laid out underneath the van, there's a good bit of room behind that front driver's wheel. And so for this build, I've decided to go for a 2 kilowatt diesel heater. I've gone with Autotherm as a brand, as they work really well with Pundman, which is the water heater that I've decided to go for. The way that this system works is you have first the diesel heater. This can be installed underneath the passenger seat. I'll then plumb a line directly into the diesel tank. The diesel will combust inside of the heater and then blow hot air into the cabin of the van and also through the water heater to heat the water. Additional to the hot blown air warming up the water, it's also a 230 volt water heater as well. And most importantly for the outside aesthetics of the van, the exhaust pipe for the Autotherm heater goes directly out and under the van, leaving this beautiful van exterior nice and clean. Now that I'm mounting the heating here, same as everything in the van, it has a knock-on impact on something else and then something else. So as I'm routing the heater pipe to go back and to the water heater above the wheel well, this is called a seating platform design 1. So don't mind me, I'm just going to put this big Lego set together. That is going to need to be routed all through the van, and you can see it now routed. It's going to be nicely tucked away and hidden underneath there with the pipe coming out the bottom. going towards the water heater. Took the front bumper apart and I have it just on the desk here. Making a couple amendments to it and adding the charger in. Quite a cool product. Going to make some adjustments to the main grille. I'm just going to use my multi-tool just to trim this out. And once it's trimmed, then the new one will be able to fit in between. And the way that it locks on is through a bolt pattern. Hidden underneath the badge, you can flip it up and charge the 230 volt shore power. So I've gone for some nice rectangular fog lights, and they've got an extra coloured light that can match with your indicator, for example. So these are the mounts in question, and then the light which I've just mounted on there with a couple of bolts. And this very easily goes underneath, and here it is on the bonnet. I'm probably going to need to take 4 steps back before I can take 3 steps forward, but that's not stopping me putting the bottle insulation in. So this is recycled bottle. This is the kind of thicker stuff, whereas I've put the initial insulation down over the sound deadening. This then just fills the cavities. It fills the voids of those areas which could cool down and bring cold and warm into the van when you don't want it to. And a big step as well in the workshop is we've brought in some extra help. Got Big George. Oh, big thing to do in the van is get all the walls up. Now that the floor's down, this seems the natural progression. We've got really easy panels like the one that you can see there. That one is a rectangle, which is nice to work with. Unfortunately, not all of the shapes are rectangles, and some of them have holes cut out of them, which makes life particularly difficult. And just like that, all of the wall panels are done. Because we're going to have an overhead locker up there and an overhead locker up there. So finally putting the first panel onto the van. This is nice material reveal of what I've decided to use. I'm excited to obviously get it into the van because it's a really good indication of whether I made a good choice or not for the design. So now it is a point which is quite exciting that I've got to. It's a point where I'm going to start and build the furniture. So I've done many drawings. The first one that I'm going to do is install the water heater, and the water heater is going to be in the back of the van, just there, above the wheel well and into the garage where you can see the opening in the wall.
The electrical and water garage need to be as strong as possible. For that reason, I'm using aluminium extrusion. This frame will then be covered in timber and it will be painted in a waterproof paint, which you'll see later on in the video.
Just gotten to the stage now that all of the boards are cut for the outside of the water tank. The way that I'm going to waterproof the back of the van, so the garage, is I'm going to cover Raptor paint all over the surfaces. It's got a really nice finish to it. It's really rugged, and again, being waterproof, it's fantastic for the outdoor shower. With the way that the bottles work, if you don't get to the end of it, it's just going to harden and be wasted. So we've taken the front grille off. We've got the bonnet strip, got the Terra Wagon arch fender protectors, and then we've flipped the boards over to do the other sides as well. Here's the Raptor grille put together. Just going to wait for the next tube of Sikaflex to stick the badge back on front. And here, now that we've put the side panels on, now that they're painted, and obviously the floor's painted as well, which looks fantastic, we've got a waterproof base, which is really rugged and fantastic for if you're coming in and chucking your boots in, dog getting in the bath, and then of course the water heater. See the water pump's just sorted there. We're going to have the shower and the water fill point in the back and a couple of extra switches. I'm just on with building the upper cabinets, and part of that is to do all of the frame, lock it all together with these corner brackets. But as you can see, it's the nice same carpet which we've got on other parts of the van. Now the next steps are to cut the doors for the fronts, put the supports in behind to hold the hinges for said doors, cut plastic inserts for the sides and the back. I'm just currently going through the learning process. And it's quite a long learning process of figuring out how to edge band. This is the current, not looking bad. Certainly some improvements to go.
We use an Egger waterproof edge banding. This is glued and cut to every one of the bespoke furniture items we make.
I used to put the first couple of bits together for the overhead cabinet. One of the biggest things in the campervan is the ceiling, and so I've really challenged myself with this build, not only to make it look really attractive, really nice, really bespoke to this customer, but also the customer is not aware of a surprise that I've got for how I'm going to light the ceiling. More on that to come a little bit later. Now we're just cutting up the ply first of all, just to cut around the cabinets that we put in and have a nice base to work from. Whilst all of the panels are up now, we can just put the LED profile up against the central board. That then gives us a scribe mark to be able to cut on the outside board for the channel then to be able to fit in. 3 weeks have passed since I've ordered the Terra Wagon rear door trim tidy. I've been waiting forever. It got held up at customs. Terra Wagon's an American company.
We fitted the Terra Wagon trim tidy kit with countersunk plastic trims, then materialed over the top.
Now that we've scored the back of the roof and we've got the panels up, we can get the LED profiles drilled, countersunk, fixed onto the fairing strips. We've got a very, very exciting first time, and probably honestly, I think the first time that I've seen this actually be put into a camper van, a really exciting setup which this camper is going to be built with. And here it is. Here's the Portuguese cork. So compared to like a usual cork pinboard or something like that, it's a lot more decorative, it's a lot more natural, and it's a cross section of the actual cork itself. The inception of Crafted Camper Co was on the 17th of January 2024, and the unit which we're in, the unit which we started in, I thought would be a good point to imagine what the stars looked like as you looked up and on the inception date of Crafted Camper Co. So that's exactly what I've done. Now the board is set up there, and I turn the lights off. I'll be able to use a pen to mark exactly how all of the stars look. Just like that. I think that's going to be a really, really nice effect. So now that we've got all of the dots on here, you can see, if you look, they look just like stars. Or at least that's the idea. So now we're just going to go with a tiny little drill bit and just drill all of the holes, and hopefully the cork on the other side looks alright. So we're currently taking every one of these strands and putting through the drill holes. No idea what I've put a strand through or not. Bear with. There are certain points when you're working late at night and you have a fantastic idea, and you start to question that idea, and you question your sanity, and you question, have I made the right decision? And at the minute, I'm not quite sure if I have. As you can see now, that all of the fibre optics are all clipped. The roof is looking fantastic.
The remaining ceiling was then fixed in place, materialed over the top for a fixtureless finish.
Looking fantastic, and we finally have the star ceiling up. There you go. So really, really subtle, really nice. While I've been out, we've just had a massive delivery, literally, and as part of the build, massive. The alloys. One thing that can massively, massively transform a build is sticking on some nice alloys.
A 3D printed crafted logo was added to the flare pod side extension.
Now that we've got the alloys on, and we've got all of the trim off, all on the side of the van, I've laid them all out after a good clean. Covered a couple of bits in the workshop that I don't want to get any paint on, and now we're going to hook up the Raptor black paint and give everything the first coat of paint. Now at the point of painting the sills, whilst all the bumpers and side trims are all off, good opportunity to get that painted. You can paint a little bit higher than where those trims sit. So for this area here in particular, we've got the black stripe coming all the way down, and then there's just this area here which is just missing the black. I don't like how it kind of just goes and it looks as if it's cut off. And so that is where we've got this Terra Wagon fender protector. For the rear doors of the van, I have gone for a bit of an uprated option compared to the last build. Gone for these Vandermoon Maxi door organisers. So these are a board which are then lined in anthracite. So that's the top, and then we've also got a second card which then goes on the bottom. So these have got integrated storage pockets and hooks fantastic in a van really for everything that you'll need. So another big thing of that will be this floor. So the placement of the fourth seat in the back is dependent on where this line finishes. So the way that this is going to work is we've got the sub base here. I'm going to do all the wiring and the pipes all through it. Then we've got the floor which goes on top. And I think kind of with the vibes of the Campervan, I'm going to use the material that I've used on the Terrawagon trim kit. I've got a nice aluminium trim around the top. The lights underneath, which you can see, I quite like the angular laminate on the bottom. It's the same laminate I'm going to use for all of the cabinets and everything. I've got the seats back. They're all been freshly upholstered. Now I've got the swivel for the first base put in. It's time to offer up the chair to it. So for a nice big reveal on the reupholstered chairs, here they are. It's time to have a look at the power system as well. So one of the ginormous benefits of using one of the Clayton power systems is pretty much everything is in there. It's just a big square box, so I need to do 6 cuts of 40 centimetres and 12 cuts of 90. So lovely and easy, I'm going to go crack on. Inside the electrical garage is going to be this main control board. This board is so my customer can easily look and maintain electrical input isolations and breaker/fuses for the outputs. You can see how I organise my wiring. It may be take some inspiration for a build you've got, or appreciate the work that I put into doing these ones. One thing that I've done off camera, mainly because it's a two-man job and there's only one of me, is to put the final wall in. I'm dead proud of this wall because it's completely fixtureless. There's no screws or fittings or anything anywhere on. It's completely solid. And now, because we have both of these walls in, it means I can finally put the frame for the bed in. And that'll then allow me to measure up and do the full final plans for the 2 kitchens at the front. So this is the divider for the bed. And I've decided to do it in one piece. Just a nicer finish up the top. You probably never can see it, but hey ho. And this is going to be the step, which of course once it's all lifted up, you can then lift this up. You've got to step up onto the bed. And then you've also got a hole through into the garage. So as you can see already inside we've got the big fridge, and we've got the oven that we're putting into the van, and also the sink. And so what we need to do is kind of have everything all in. We're having a bit of a drop at the minute, just making sure that all the measurements and everything are all right before we start cutting the laminate and ordering the compact laminate countertop. With the construction of the laminate, so the way that I'm going to fix all of these together is by using regular wooden dowels with wood glue and then cam locks. So you've probably seen these on flat pack furniture when you bought from IKEA and so on. All the pieces are cut now, so we have the bottom, the right hand side, a hole there for the wires to come through to power the fridge, induction, etc. We have the inner piece with a hole for the drawers and cupboards. We have the middle divider which goes behind the fridge and the back plate, which then also have a router slit through them, so then I can put a back plate in. The front plate, which is just there, which goes in front of the fridge. And then there's also a kick plate which is attached now to the slide. I have radius and edge banded. As you can see there, you'll get a much better view once it's all put together. So as you can see behind me, we've got the lovely fridge unit down there, and then you can pull that all the way out. That locks into position. Very exciting point. We have the Ninja oven in. I'll show through the details of that later on. We've just built the surround and fixing points for that, and we're all ready to go on this side with the worktops ready to go as well. We've got the tap on the undermount sink, which is a really nice touch. I'll plug that in and show you what that is a little bit later on, and then an induction hob. We're about to get the CT1 out and get this compact laminate actually attached into the van. I've just dropped the van at a metal fabricator's and to get the side step, the rear step and the hatch kind of covered over with a bit of angle. So they're going to weld and make custom profile which sits over the edge, and then powder coat it. Pop top hatch and the rear step at the back are all custom made metal surround finishes. Looks absolutely ace down there. It's powder coated in a matte black, and then even better than that, the pop top surround up the top there, you can see really lovely finish, which just encloses all of the different parts. It's perfectly flush with the shelf there.
Coming to the end of the build, I always like to get the van fully valeted by a professional who knows what they're doing. They mostly get into all the corners, nooks and crevices where there's dust, little bits of dirt, and just get the van looking as best as it possibly can.
I figure it's quite a nice opportunity to show you guys exactly what Project 2 looks like. The first thing, as we step up and into the van, we have what used to be the electric sliding door button just here, and when you click that, the underglow comes on the van and it's turned the lights on from the inside. And to do that, this is all controlled through the main motherboard screen, which is powered by Savivan. Just a nice tidy look at the cabinets. Now they're finished, got the nice plastic on the back, and then I've boxed in the Rolls-Royce Starliner, and of course all of the electrics for the Savivan just there. Moving down from the cabinet is the first kitchen. So I've gone for a nice Ego laminate, everything's all edge banded, and we've gone for a compact laminate distressed oak worktop. A couple of USBs, USB-A and USB-Cs. We've also got this centerpiece. This is powered by 240 volt, and it's got your 3-pin plugs, a USB-C and a USB-A. Of course, we've got the water going now with the sprayer. Hot and cold, water pump's just kicked in, and this should start to heat up very quickly. And then moving down, just excuse the doors for the minute, but we have the Ninja 10-in-1 oven. So this, as you can see, we've got all the different ones there. I'm not going to go through them all, you know how one of these works. And moving over from the kitchen, you get the 4th passenger seat, the custom upholstery which matches the walls, the lovely accent light which runs all the way across there, and that takes us nicely to the lagoon table. So the lagoon table spins around, you can move it any which way that you want, so it's ideal for when these 3 seats at the front spin round. Just below it as well, in this floor, we have a little bit of extra storage. So we have these custom magnetic insulated blackout thermal blinds. We've got one for each one of the doors and the front windscreen. We've got one for this side, and then we've also got one for the cab window, which is in the side pod. Now, as the frame of this is not magnetic, I've actually inset the magnets into the wall, but as you can see there, that magnetizes to the wall itself. Comes time for bed, you turn the main lights off, you get a really lovely ambient vibe of what the van's like in the evening. You get the fantastic Rolls-Royce Starliner all the way down there to the bed. The bed is 6'1" across, and that's because of the extensions of the side pods. And then you have down here a hop down step, which gives you access to the garage and also a step up onto the bed. Let's open her up. Here you get to see the full Vandermoon maxi storage. Then just have the porta potty for emergency use. Then we've got the Oscalati outdoor shower. This is the final panel. Gonna go just up there behind the cabinets. In 5 months and 10 days, this build. Learnt a hell of a lot on the way. Got some fantastic new suppliers. Made a few mistakes. Learnt from them, which is the key. I'm excited now just to get this final piece on. Let's see if it fits. Beautiful.
tight.